you, and thank you for being here. Take a deep breath. We'll do a breathing exercise. How about that? So will everyone that's willing just kind of mentally relax? Just relax your whole body, your toes, your feet, your calves, your all of your legs, your stomach, your chest, your arms, your fingers, your head. Now your scalp, and just feel your scalp relaxing. You say, I don't know how to do that. Well, I heard someone say, think about like a warm or cool wash rag on your head, and that sensation that you feel when you have that. And now we're going to double breathe. Inhale once, inhale again, and exhale. All the way out slowly. Inhale once, inhale twice, exhale slowly through your mouth. Good. Inhale once, inhale twice through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Now think of somebody that you're grateful for, or that you love, or someone that loves you. And I want you to see a stream of love going from your heart to that person that loves you, or that you love, that thing that you're grateful for, as we breathe the last time. Inhale once, inhale twice, exhale through your mouth. Good deal. I should ask you to put your hands on your heart when we did that. Anyway, glad you're here. Hopefully that was beneficial. Whether you realize it or not, you just helped your mind, your heart, your spirit, your entire flesh. So we're glad you're here. I'm going to pass it over to our MC for tonight, the super dynamic fella that knows almost everything, and what he doesn't know, Lisa does. And so, because he taught her all that good stuff. So anyway, here we go to Zach. Welcome, Zach.
Oh my! Oh, just trying to get me in trouble tonight. Yeah. Doug said that I didn't, honey. I didn't teach you anything. So, welcome to Saturday Night Live. We're glad you're here, and it's going to be a good evening because Doug is feeling ornery. So that always makes for a good evening. So we are glad you're here, and I'm glad everybody here is on Zoom with us tonight. And so we are going to move right along. Without further ado, please welcome Kate. She's going to read the steps for us.
All right. Step 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Basically meaning that we sat down and realized that we were powerless, like we had no control over our problems and our addictions, and had to become willing to accept that we could not manage them anymore, and we had to give them to God to take care of, or to lead us into taking care of them. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So we, after realizing that our lives had become unmanageable, and we couldn't take care of them, we realized that there was a power greater than ourselves, so God, and he had to restore us to sanity, and we had to let him. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. So now that we've realized that there's only somebody that's more powerful than us or greater than us that can manage our lives better than we can, we turn our wills and those lives and our decisions over to God to take care of and to restore us to sanity, like step 2. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So after we turned our lives and our decisions and everything over to God to take care of, we then made decisions to look through our problems and our choices and everything that got us to where we are, and we took note of them. We admitted to God, for step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. So after we've taken inventory of our problems and of our decisions and of our addictions and what have you, we then admitted to ourselves, to God, and to other people around us, our support systems, our family, our friends, or whatever it is, the exact nature of our wrongs, basically, like exactly what happened and where we were wrong and how they were bad decisions and how we can get out of those, or what have you. So step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. So after we've admitted that we were wrong and exactly what was going on, and talked to our support systems, gave it to God, admitted to ourselves that we were in the wrong, then we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. So then we were finally willing to let God work on us, after realizing everything that had happened and our choices and where we're at. Step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. So after we were entirely ready, then we humbly we go to God and we pray, and through meditation and prayer or whatever, like whatever you choose to do, however you connect to God, through worship, through prayer, through reading the Bible, going to church, however you decide to do it, then you humbly ask God to work on you and to remove the characteristics about you, or to work on the characteristics about you that land you in the spot that you're in. Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So after we've, let God work on us a little bit, and worked on ourselves and looked at it, and gone over how wrong it is, we're not fixed, we're still working on our stuff, but you make a list of all the people you've harmed, and became willing to make amends to them all. So you take your, whoever you harmed in your addiction, or whatever wrong you did, you go to those people, you apologize. But then we made direct amends, which leads us into step 9. We made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So after you've made a list of the people that you've harmed, whether that be, yourself can be included, that can be your family, your friends, people that you've, screwed over, as long as it's not going to harm those people and, make those people's lives terrible. You go to those people and you make a direct amends, you apologize, you explain what happened, you take ownership and responsibility for your actions. And as long as you're not going to harm anybody else, or what you're going to say is going to hurt them, then that's when you make direct amends. Step 10, we continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. So after you've done work for your addiction, and your choices, you continue, and your work may not be done, but you continue to take inventory and look at your choices in your everyday life, and see how they're affecting you and others around you. And then you promptly admit it to yourself, to God, to your friends, your family, whatever holds you accountable. You promptly admit it, and you go about the next day and you fix it, or you don't do it again, or whatever. Step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry it out. So you're praying, you're reading the Bible, you're meditating, whatever you can, exercise, listen to music, whatever helps you improve your conscious contact with God, which is something that everybody has to work on. It's an everyday thing. So praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry it out. So asking God what he wants you to do with your life, the decisions he wants you to make sure that, you're constantly keeping up the relationship to understand what he's telling you to do and saying, and what he wants you to do with your life. And then step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So once you've gone through step 1 through 11, you then go through, you're constantly working on your stuff, you're constantly having conscious contact with God, and then you go through your, spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. You carry these message to others. So you're helping your friends and your family, your kids, what have you, your whatever, any strangers, people at church you go to church with, and you're carrying this message to others, and how, God works on you and you work on your stuff, and it's a joint effort. And you're practicing these principles with all your affairs. So then once again, you don't end up in hot water like you've ended up before, and it's a constant. So those are the 12 steps. And I'm done.
All right. Thank you, Kate. That was really good.
Thank you,
And,
Kate. I want to say thank you, Kate.
You're welcome.
All right, we are going to move on. That was really good. We're going to move on to the steps. So please welcome Lisa.
Hello, everybody. So the section on step 2 that I have chosen is hope in faith. And I'm going to be reading out of the Bible itself. So in this particular section, it's in Hebrews 11. And it said, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 2 is often referred to as the hope step. In coming to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity, we will remember that, we will remember what it was like to live sanely and have faith to hope that sanity can return. Faith shows us the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. And it went on at the bottom of the section, and it tells a story about a man who came along and asked Jesus to help him. His young son was afflicted. And he said, have mercy on us and help us if you can. And Jesus says, what do you mean if I can? And Jesus goes on to tell him, anything is possible if a person believes. And I found that very interesting. It says, if a person believes. So the very next page, I'm going to kind of go off script of this a little bit. But in our Bible, they have these little sections. The Life Recovery Bible has these little sections in there where they tell you just encouraging words and different recovery principles, but also sometimes stories about different people in the Bible. And on the very next page in our Bible is a little section called faith. And I found it very interesting that it was right there so close to this part. But it says faith, read Hebrews 12:1-4. And then it says, our addiction interferes in our ability to win in the race of life. Many of us feel like a loser who has just dropped out of the race. Faith in God can give us the motivation to run the race with a real chance at winning life's rewards. Hebrews 11 has been called the Hall of Faith. It mentions a long list of people whose lives were used by God because of their faith. The next chapter begins this way. Since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. This illustration referred to the ancient Olympic Games. In Bible times, men wore flowing robes. Before an event, the athletes would strip off their robes and lay them aside to run without encumbrance. If someone tried to compete in this robe, he would get tangled up, losing both the race and the prize. It is God's will for us to win the race of life. The robe of our reoccurring sin needs to be laid aside. There will be pain from the exertion, but we are told to pace ourselves and bear the pain with patience. And remember, others who have run the same race and finished well are cheering us on. So that made me kind of think about, the faith part of this step, the coming to believe. We often talk about belief, but it's interesting. Faith and belief, they kind of go hand in hand, but I think very often we believe that it's possible, but many of us don't have the faith that we're worthy. and, you know, or that it's going to happen for us. And so the coming to believe is that part where we lay aside some of those things that, you know, we've admitted that we were powerless, and now we have to admit that we're willing and we're worthy, and it can happen for us if we give it to God. You know, this is that part where there's hope. We've seen it work for others, and we know it can work for us. We just have to be willing to have faith that it can work for us. We have to be willing to participate. This is where we're leading into that part of step 3, where we're going to make that decision. And we're seeing evidence of things. We're seeing our friends and other people who are recovering, and it's working for them. You know, and they're having things happen in their life that you never thought possible. You know, and I got to thinking about my recovery in my life and where I am now. And so many of the things that I have in my life, I never thought were possible, you know, and now here they are. And it's beyond, truthfully, you know, I think back even 10 years ago, I don't even know that I could truly say that I believed that I would be where I am today, but here I am, you know, and I'm continuing to grow and continuing to change and continuing to be blessed with things that I never thought possible. And so sometimes it may be hard for us when we think, well, I never really knew what sanity was. Well, maybe this step is for you discovering that there is a possibility of living sanely. Maybe this is the step where you learn that you can live life without pain, that you can live life without being encumbered by pain. You can set it aside and you can continue to move on with life as God intended for you. You know, you learn that there are ways to be free from those things that are holding you back and holding you down. And maybe you've never had an example, but maybe you have a dream. And this is the part where you think that dream can come true. You have hope because you have faith in that belief. So that's what I have for step 2. Turn it back to you, Zach.
All right, thank you, Lisa. That was really good. And John is going to do our reflection tonight, so please welcome John.
Okay, there are a lot of things in recovery that we have to have faith, have to have hope and faith to be able to completely do and completely recover. If we don't have hope and faith in life, we're just going to be going through life kind of like a zombie. But it was good. It was good, Lisa. I don't know what all to say, but hope and faith do run a lot in our recovery, and need to run a lot in our recovery in our lives. I don't have anything else. That's about all. Thank you, Zach. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, John. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Doug, and I think Thomas has his hand up there. So, all right, without further ado, please welcome Doug.
Well, I'm just going to go to Tommy. You had your hand up, so.
I like this one. I was reading here in the study guide. It says, "How have I tried to control my problems in my own power?"
Tommy, you're kind of low on your volume. Maybe get a little closer or something.
Let me go. Hold on. Let me shut this off.
Well, Tommy has left the room. So anyway, he will be back, and we're glad that he just wanted to be able to hear him. Thanks, John, for sharing the reflection, and Lisa, and teaching the step. And I appreciate Kate reading it, and of course Zach MCing, and Tommy's totally disappeared. So is there anybody else that has any comments on what has been said so far? And we will do that until Tommy comes back, because now he's totally gone. So anyone have anything they'd like to share pertaining to what we've done so far? Okay, Alicia, I'm going to go to you.
I would just say that, can you guys hear me?
You have to speak up because you're low.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're low.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just reading about the faith in the Bible and here in Hebrews chapter 11. And, you know, it's the faith that we have that, you know, from believing what God can do for us that we can't do for ourselves is, you know, all these people in Hebrews chapter 11, they put their faith into action. You know, Noah built an ark. Abraham, you know, everybody knows about Abraham and just the things, you know, it's encouraging to see, you know, the big things. Like to me, it's big that Noah, you know, knowing that everybody in the world thought he was crazy, that he still did what God asked him to do because he had faith, you know, and Abraham is the father of faith, and he believed God and it was credited to him as righteousness, you know. So the more faith we have, the better we do, the better we become. The more things I keep hearing a lot lately, all things are possible for him who believes. Anything is possible. Anything can happen when we believe God and take him at his word and stand on that with our faith and not be moved or corrupted, you know, any more than we already have been, and stay insane and stay stuck in the same spot as we have, you know, all the years that we spent in bondage, not knowing, or doubt or unbelief of not being able to go anywhere and be stagnant and do nothing about our situations. And by faith, you know, we come out of that and of each struggle that we go through. So, I mean, this is very encouraging because in like with my walk, you know, I had hope, and then I believed God, and then I had faith, and then I trusted him, and then I gave him control, and then he's moved mightily. So this is a very encouraging chapter for me as well.
Thank you, Alicia. Appreciate that. And go back here. And I was looking around to see if Tommy was back, but he's gone. So anyway, when he gets back, we'll listen to what he has to say. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share about what we've covered so far about faith and hope? Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to touch on a few things that was in this topic that Lisa didn't share. It will tie into what she did share. And one of the things that it talked about was that in the Bible tells us that the key is in the nature of our higher power. Key is in the nature of our higher power that we look towards. And sometimes people look towards a higher power with you know, what they see as a higher power in their life. And this may not be God. This may be, well, it should not be God if it's not a benevolent, loving higher power. But fact of it is, sometimes people use a group, and that's all right as long as it is a a loving and a positive reinforcing type of group. If it is a harsh, judgmental, shameful group that would shame, you maybe need to find another group if you want to be healthy, that is. So anyway, it goes on to say, anyone who wants to come to him, we're talking about God here, must believe that God exists. I remember the day, and this has been probably in the middle 80s, that the Holy Spirit revealed this scripture to me, and I went into the Greek, and I found out because sometimes in our Bibles, and I'm not trying to be critical, I'm just stating the fact, some of the translators put in words that may or may not apply, and I wanted to know exactly what the original words were in the Greek, which is the closest that I could get to, and I found that it didn't. It left some words out, and it goes along. I'm speaking this from memory, and it says, anyone who wants to know him must believe that God exists and that he rewards those who seek. And if you are interested in God in any way, and you want to know and you do seek, then that means you have faith, and that means that you believe that he is a positive rewarder. At least I would say so, unless you're seeking somebody that you know that's going to hurt or harm you, which does not make very good sense. And so as we do that, then that we need to recognize that we need to believe that God exists. And if you believe that, then he will interact with you, and believe that he will also reward you. And reward you means that he will connect with you with his and lead you and guide you. And it goes on to say that if our faith has not matured to that point, then and that could be a lot of us. Hi, Tommy, you're back. That could be a lot of us. That what we need to do is ask for help. Ask for help from God. Ask help from other individuals that are that we have built a relationship and that's trustworthy. That we value what they have to say. And then that story that Lisa talked about, the man that came to Jesus and his son was afflicted, and he asked Jesus, he said, Jesus, have mercy on me, if you can. Now a lot of people say a lot of things about Jesus' response here, because it says that, what do you mean if I can? And I know that can sound kind of harsh, but he was just, he came to him, so he had an element of faith, okay? And he was just helping him to understand kind of where things are. And that can be all of us, because sometimes we're timid about how we approach people of power or even Jesus, okay? And so he says, as Lisa said, anything is possible if a person believes. And so he believed. And so this father's next response was, I could almost hear him kind of almost yell it out. I believe, okay? Help my unbelief. Help me to overcome my unbelief. And can't we all say that, right? Can't we all say that? Because that's where we're at constantly, because we need his help. And I think that's a real powerful thing that we can do, is just come to him. And if we recognize that maybe we need to let go of some stuff that we're holding on to, some intimidation maybe, that we need to go ahead and take action like he did, said, I believe, help me to overcome my belief. And so when we ask for God to help us, that is faith. Okay. You say, well, that's maybe not be very much faith, but it's still faith. I don't know how much it is. It doesn't really matter. It's not based on how much. Okay. It's based on that you have it. Okay. And if you're seeking, you have it because you're seeking. Because you wouldn't be seeking if you didn't believe he existed. And if you're asking, then that's faith right there, even though you may have some other things going on. But what Jesus is trying to do was bring him around, help him, not hurt him, not harm him, but help him to get lined up with him so that he could help him with the situation he wanted help with. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And so what we want to do is then we want to ask him to help us and to give us courage, to have hope for a better future. And this statement right here has just been going through my head over and over and over. Hope for a better future. If we don't have hope for a better future, then we fall into a state of nihilism. We fall in a state of despair. We are hopeless. And you and if you're hopeless, then you're just continuing to fall down, and you go deeper and deeper. And so tonight, as Lisa picked this topic out, and there was earlier this week, I wouldn't have said what I'm getting ready to say, okay? But now I'm saying, Lisa, I'm glad you picked this topic. Because and why is because this topic was something that I have worked on a lot this week to come to a place where I could have something to share here tonight, and I haven't got to that yet. But I did find a statement in a related information that says faith starts when we believe God is who he is. I'm going to say that again. Faith starts when we believe God is who he is. And that ties right back into that scripture we were talking about a moment ago. And I also, as I was studying, I come across this statement or quote by Charles Spurgeon, and you may or may not know who Charles Spurgeon is, but he was a minister back in the early 1800s, as I recall. And he said this, there is a sun. I don't know how many thousands of times the sun is bigger than the earth. And yet the sun can come into a small room. And what is more, the sun can come in through a chink. I had to look up what chink was, and it was chink was a small, very small crack, a chink. He said, so the sun can come in through a chink. So Christ can come in through a small, faith, a mere chink of confidence. Now, Spurgeon was a very famous theologian, preacher, and what I grasp out of this statement is that he's saying that comparing God to like the sun, although God's way bigger than the sun, but that big sun can come in through a small window and affect that room here on earth. And the Son of God, Christ, can come in through a little bit of faith, even a small crack, a little bitty crack is enough to have that much confidence in God, even though it's a real small crack. He said that his grace can come into us. So what I'm saying here and what Spurgeon is saying here, even though we have what we think is a small faith, and some people might even say no faith, but if you are, even I'm saying, even if you're having questions about your faith in relationship to God, that says to me, you have faith. What do you think about that? And so, and if you have that much faith, just to even question your faith, then you have the opportunity and possibility to start receiving, and you probably have been receiving already, God's grace, his blessing. And if you're able to grasp what I just said, that would be hope. And when you have that hope and you recognize that hope, then that will lead into being able to have that faith and make that connection. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to give Tommy a chance if you still want to share, Tommy, about what you had, and then I will ask anybody else if they have anything to share before I go on, and I'll shift to Tommy. There you go, Tommy.
I was thinking about when it says, how have I tried to control my problems in my own power? I'm good at doing that. I mean, everything, like anything in my life, I think, oh, well, hey, oh, there we go. You know, I mean, work, home, relationships with people, you know, activities that I involve myself in, you know, I just sometimes forget that I wouldn't have none of this if I didn't, you know, let God restore me to sanity, you know, and make the steps and learning to progress and move forward, you know. And I notice still to this day, you know, I went through a situation here 2 weeks ago, you know, where I thought that I could go in with my own voice and probably, you know, my size and my stature and my body language and everything, and get some people to change the way they were doing things. And then I realized when I walked in, wait a second, that's not the way to solve this. And then, so over time, I kind of looked at, well, how am I being in this environment? You know, how am I acting? You know, what's, you know, my response to how they're being, you know, causes me to want to have some type of control over the situation to where God cannot move and, you know, open doors or healing with me. And so I took like time to think about what was going on. And I think that's where it kind of helped me come back to sanity, to where I'm not going, oh, I'm in control. I'm going to get this to happen my way, you know, the right way. Wait, my way's not always the right way. So I took a new approach to this whole situation, and I've been practicing it, and I've been trying different approaches, like less talk, more action, you know. That worked, but it was hard on me because I like to communicate and joke and play, and so I'm trying to learn how to you know, have it all work together, so I don't feel like I'm trying to change so much at once that I get to a place where I don't want to change nothing, and I just go back to insanity. That's it. That's all I got. You're muted, Doug.
Well, that's the reason why it didn't switch. Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah.
Appreciate you sharing that. And John, we're going to go over to John and give him an opportunity to share. Okay, John.
That chink is like a chink in a knight's armor that will let something in. That's what I got. And it does take a lot of faith. It does take at least a smattering of faith, like the faith of a mustard seed, to question one's faith. But the Bible says if you have the great faith of a grain of mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, be moved, and it'll be moved. So any faith is faith.
That's right. Thank you, John. Anybody else have any other comments before I go any further? All right. Well, I'm going to just kind of touch on this topic because I've gone over it. And this was part of my dilemma of coming to peace with something. It's some really good information. It's about 8 science-backed ways to increase your hope. We're talking about hope and faith tonight, and I'd found this gentleman's information, and they'd called him Dr. Hope, and but it was hard to find anything. Come to find out, he died several years ago. His name was, I think, Rick Snyder, Dr. Rick Snyder. And he kind of started down this path. And and then anyway, I finally come across some other information that kind of shared some of what he was coming to at that time, and it's been several years ago, 10 or more years, I think. But and there's been a lot of other research, science backed research about hope and how important it is. And I'm going to talk about some of the research as I remember it. Some of they said was that and I don't know exactly what this instrument is yet, but I'm going to try to find it. Another gentleman said that, and I'll tell you his name later, but I think it's Gwynn was his last name. But he said that he can detect through this instrument, and it's some questions, I'm assuming, that he can evaluate how much hope or what your hope level is. And based on whatever your hope level is, that decides for you. It's kind of weird, but that it dictates how much you're able to withstand in pain. So the higher your hope level, the more pain you're able to endure. The higher hope level, the healthier you are. Higher in hope level dictates how productive you are. In fact, he said that you could have some 2 people working, one working 7 hours with a high hope level, and someone working with a lower hope level, and the one with 7 hours will be more productive than the one that works 8 hours. So hope affects your entire system, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I'm going to learn more on this. I want to pursue this, but let me find his name. It must be on the anyway. It's right. It should be right here. Right. I know I'm looking straight at it. There it is. Rick Snyder. Yes. It's C.R. Snyder, and he was a professor in Kansas, I believe. But he said there's 3 areas, and I'm not. I'll probably allude to this later, but I'm going to go ahead and give it here. Is that he says it? The first one is that we need goals, and he talked about that. But you need a pathway, and you need agency. Those are the 3 things. And I know those seem really abstract, probably because they seemed abstract to me with just giving that information. But I want to go ahead and share some more of this, some of this information here. And but he was basically an organizational psychologist, and he saw these 3 different elements that requires person: goal or a vision. Okay, vision, and he used this term here, for a better future. If you don't believe that there's a potential of a better future, then you just give up. Isn't that true? So, so the first thing that we do with people but when they come, if they come to a meeting, or if they're watching Zoom, or if they're watching us on our lives that's going on, and hopefully they are. I know we're able to be on one on Saturday Night Live. For some reason, it wouldn't go on my page, but tonight. But if they're seeking and they have at least an idea, it may be that crack or that chink that we were talking about a while ago, but they believe that there's a possibility of a better future. And if you don't have that, then it's going to be really hard to turn it around. Would you agree with that? Yes, I got a couple of nods. Okay. All right. And so the second one was agency. And I know that's kind of you not sure what that is, but let me just read what it says here. It says to learn, to the agency to learn and do whatever is required to get what you want. What it's saying, and some other information that it had, is you gotta be able to have some sort of a system. You have to have the terms they use. Some of it was that you have to have the power or the ability to be able to manage some of that. And some of the power and ability here is connecting with our higher power, which I believe is God, to help us, just like the scripture that we talked about a while ago, the man that says, help me, okay, help me. And so if we know that there's help here, whether it's coming to a meeting or watching it on video or getting on Zoom here with us, or getting plugged in somewhere with some healthy people, that is some agency, okay? If you want some insurance, you go to an insurance agent that knows how to do what it is you need to do, and you use that agent as a form of agency to help you to get what it is that you want. How about that? Does that clear anything up? Alicia is nodding her head, so thank you for that. So then, and when we do that, then we're able to continue to search. Okay, so he says you need to have a vision or a goal, where you want to go, what you want to do, a vision, and you have to have an agency. You have to have some sort of power system to connect, and you continue to learn to develop that. And then the third is a pathway, and I thought this was very interesting. It says those folks that have multiple pathways to their goal will be those that are able to make it through the system, be able to get better. And what does that mean? That means that oftentimes when we start down a path, it gets blocked or it stops or whatever. And so that but you know that there's more than one path. There's more than one ways to go to that. So if you get a sponsor that either disappears or doesn't do their job, or a minister or somebody that's helping, or whoever it is, even a friend, know that they're not the only one out there. There's others there, okay? And that they're there. And as this man cried out to Jesus, help me, help my unbelief. I know there's another path out there. I may need to have some agency to find some of these other paths, but just knowing there's paths through this, that many people have gone down these pathways. And so what that gives you is hope. Does that make sense? We're talking about ways to get hope, to administer hope to people. That is, there's more than one way. And and I know this happens all the time, and I don't want to be harsh here, but I know teachers, counselors, preachers, sponsors, they like to tell people that you got to do what I say, the way I say, or you're doing it wrong. And they may be right, But the fact of it is, taking away all the other paths is I think is inappropriate. How about that terminology? And so, because when I talk with people, I encourage them to listen to other people. Hey, check me out. You know, verify what I say. If I use a scripture, look it up. If I say things off the internet, you can look up what I'm talking about here tonight. The 7 science-backed ways to increase your hope. You can go and look it up. Okay, and you'll get more information out of it than I'm going to be able to talk about tonight. But, and I know that may sound harsh, but the fact of it is, I'll use myself as an example. I've had people that have come to me and wanted to talk to me, and they ask about going someplace else, and I said, hey, you know, I can tell you people you can go to. You can go visit with them, and that's all right. In fact, you can visit with them while you're visiting with me. And hopefully we should be telling you the same thing, or at least variations of the same thing. Does that make sense? And so I'm personally okay with that, because I either I'm deluded or I'm confident, one or the other. Okay, and I'm trying to work into this in a nice way. And those people that want to restrict you from going to other meetings or going to other places or reading other books or listen to other sources of information because they don't trust you, they say, no, you can't do that. Well, you're going to do it anyway, but you're just not going to tell them, right? That's the truth. But if I tell them, I said, go ahead and do that. In fact, I remember telling a lady, I said, you know, go, you know, and go and do that. And this one lady went and paid, and there's been several, but this one I'm thinking about right now, $100+ an hour, you know, and they gave them information, and I'm not saying it was bad information, not because I don't know everything they said, but for some reason they decided, whether it was money or information or trust level, I'm not really for sure, but they came back and they may, I think this particular one, they verified a lot of things I was saying. But anyway, but it's okay. I'm all right. And if I'm wrong, I want to know. Okay, that's just the way I am, because I want to be right. I want to be as right as I can be. Am I right about everything? Well, I think I am, or I wouldn't be saying it. But the fact of it is, I know that I can't be right about everything, because I've changed a lot of things that I teach, share, and believe. Does that make sense? So I'm a work in progress, just like everybody else, like all of you. And so, and that's the way that it is. It cannot be any different. And I have deviated from our topic here, haven't I? Apologies. All right, so I'm going to give you the 8 things, okay? And let's see what the time is. And my idea right now, I'm just going to touch on them. Some of them have multiple paragraphs. I'm just going to pick up that grabs me. I'm thinking right at the moment. So the 8 things are this: that these are ways that you can incorporate, and that suggestions that you should incorporate into your life, and this will help you to have better hope, or at least have some hope. How about that? Does that sound like a potentially good topic? Nobody wants to say. Afraid to do anything. So here we go. Any comments before I go into this? I saw an elbow, but I don't think that's a hand. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, Alicia, let's see if we can go to Alicia. I think you're muted, Alicia.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you at the moment.
Okay, so you know, everything that you were saying, like in this whole chapter about faith, I think the biggest thing when you're applying faith to the areas in your life that you're struggling with, that you're believing for a different outcome, you know, when you were talking about goals and, you know, and I heard the word vision, and it made me think of the book of the second chapter of Habakkuk, because, you know, a lot of times we get tripped up in the waiting part, you know, and all these people in this chapter, they waited, they died believing that these things were going to happen. So if you don't see it, you know, faith is a substance for things, you know, hope unseen or
Hopeful.
whatever, you know. But
Substance things hoped for. Okay.
yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You say it. So like you know, it talks about in the beginning of the second chapter, um, there I will wait to see what the Lord says and how he will answer my complaint. We have to wait for everything that God has for us. And I never knew that before, that I had to do that. And it produced patience in me and a lot of great other characteristics of God that he wanted me to have. And the next verse, I wish my phone would quit dinging. um, it says to write your, to me this is like the next step is a goal, or to write your vision down, to answer write my answer plainly on tablets, so that a runner can carry the correct message to others. The vision is for a future time, it describes the end, and it will be fulfilled. It seems slow in coming, wait patiently for it, it will surely take place, it will not be delayed. And I believe that with all my heart, for the areas that I haven't seen come to pass yet, that these things will come to pass as long as I keep my faith and I um, stand firm in my belief.
That's good, Alicia. And the fact of it is, um, you know, keeping that faith, that's that trusting and holding on to it. And that it may take a while. In fact, some of the people like you talked about in Hebrews 11, some of those died in faith, uh, and and those are things that we have to continue to trust in. And the rest of the story is, sometimes while we're trusting God, we realize that there's some things that we need to adjust, like the story that Lisa talked about, and I also talked about the man that said, "If you can," and Jesus says, "It's not about what it's not about me. It's about you know, I can do that if you believe." And so sometimes my point here is, sometimes we have to make some adjustments to go ahead and get the full connection. You know, have you ever plugged in a vacuum cleaner and you didn't make a full connection, and it kind of made a little bit of noise, but it didn't really run until you plugged it all the way in, and then it got a full charge and was able to go. And sometimes we have to get properly positioned uh, to be able to make that connection. So anything else, Tommy? You're leaning in like you had something you wanted to say. Paul, you have anything you want to say? Nope. Okay. Zach, John. Okay. All right. So the 8 things are this. I was just checking the time. And the first one is, look back on your past wins. Look back on your past wins. The things that was good. You can call them blessings, things that happen, successes, whatever it is. Look back, and what you're doing is you're exercising what went right. You look back and see those divine interventions that took place, that I should have not made it, but I made it anyway. I thought I was going to die, but here I am. You know, look back and exercise those wins. That will build your hope. Okay. And there's Daniel Sullivan. He is a coach. He has a strategy, and the strategy is the gap and the gain. And what he says that you need to look back, whether it's the day or the week or the month or the year, and see the things that you have gained. And because sometimes, and I hear this often, and I experience it myself, sometimes we get to feeling like I haven't grown much, I haven't learned much, I haven't done much, like what's the use? And so what we need to do is look back into the gaps, exercise. It's all very similar to the grateful exercise that I recommend that everybody do every day. Find 3 to 10 things that you're grateful for, and recognize that, and that affects your heart, which enhances your hope for a better future. Okay. All right. Some of the information from earlier says, how can we hold on if what we want, we haven't seen it, it's around the corner, it's invisible, and what we hold on to. Now listen to me all the way through here. We hold on to the hope, just what we're talking about here in first, in the first one here. We're holding on to the wins or the successes or the good things that's happened in the past. He was there with me then when I didn't think it would happen, or that I had it, or I could make it, or I didn't. I don't know how I got from way down there to where I am right now, but I did, because I'm here, right? And if I can get from where I was to where I am, then I got hope to be able to get to where I want to go, that goal. How's that? First element of being able to impart hope. And I'll come back to that hopefully. Next one, number 2 here, and they're not numbered, so I may forget exactly which one it is, but this is number 2, and that's prayer and meditation. And he said that he sent out a question to all of his mailing list, and the question was, what do you do, or what gives you hope when things start to look bad or bleak? And he said he got a bunch of replies. He said he got over 3,000 replies, and the majority of them said he said the most common answer, I'll just read it off the paper what it said. So the most common answer was prayer. Now, I thought that was pretty staggering, coming from a scientist. Okay. Because prayer, well, let me just read what he has here. He says, research has shown that prayer can increase hope and optimism. Okay, this isn't coming from a spiritual perspective, even though it's a spiritual operation. Okay, and it says a self-esteem and adaptability during challenges, while decreasing feelings of depression and suicide. Now that's a pretty big order right there. Researchers say that prayer or meditation can help in all these other areas and decrease negative feelings, and also depression and suicide thoughts or feelings. It says prayer has also been shown to greatly improve relationships and can even improve health problems. Okay, let's go. I think that's significant. All right. He says you don't have to be it don't have to be a religious prayer, but it could be prayer. Okay. Even that atheist I can't think of his name right now, but he has a app on meditation, and he's been meditating for 10 plus years. I don't remember exactly how long. His name will come to me here in a minute, but he has found out that meditation helps him to deal with his life. And I'm going to go ahead and read this next information. It says, ultimately, prayer is a quiet search for perspective. I really like that. I thought that's a good term. I want to read that again. Ultimately, prayer is a quiet search for perspective, energy, and reasons. Okay, being mindful or prayerful or meditating, that because if you're praying, you're believing for you're trying to reach into something that you may not be aware of, or you're trying to reach into God or through the Holy Spirit and you believe that it's good, it's beneficial, it's a better future. And so you're taking those moments, and what you're doing is you're shifting yourself by praying. If you're not praying and you're doing something about thinking about all the bad stuff, and really they call that worry, right? Those are my words, not his words. So putting yourself into the frame of mind in which you believe that something good can happen is a positive perspective, and it shifts things. And then we have to take action. Okay. And even if you don't know how to do that, what we did earlier in our meditation when we opened up, just thinking about sending love or positive energy to somebody that you care about, that has an effect. If you remember in the Tools book, it talked about that very same thing. If you remember, that's been a couple of years ago, but it's the very same thing. I'm going to go to number 3, and that one took longer, but I think that was one that I could spend time on. So anyway, number 3, it says, look for the third door. Okay. So hope looks, okay. So either hope looks, or if you look for hope, you'll find it. Okay. And it says here, look for the third door. And it made reference to the author here. He wrote a book on the third door. And he said that he puts this in the reference of like a nightclub. He says there's 3 doors in a nightclub. He says the first door is the front door, the main entrance that 99% of all people use. They stand in line, they wait, and they hope that they can get in. Those are his words. The second door is that is the door for VIPs and for billionaires or celebrities, or they're able to slip in with, being able to miss the line, right? And so the third door is a different entrance. And what you have to do is you have to look for that entrance. It may be through the kitchen. It may be through a back door that you have to beat on. Okay. Or we see somebody go out that we're able to go in. But he says, hope. This can give you hope if you realize. Now we're back to the multiple paths here, okay? Because we're identifying at least 3 paths, but there's multiple paths. Or if you're serious enough, you can even maybe climb through a window if there's a window open. But the fact of it is, you can't find it if you don't look, and if you don't have hope that there's something there, you won't even look. So here is hope. Hope is, hey, look for the third door. Look for another alternative. Look for another answer. Look for another entrance. Be open to possibilities. Okay. Oftentimes I talk about think creatively. If you've ever heard me talk about that. All right, we're going to go on down. We'll skip the rest of that. And I think this is number 4, and that is filter your input. And this is critical because, and they state this, that oftentimes people load themselves up with the news and social media and all those things, and those things shape your perspective. Is that not correct? Okay. Being watching us on Zoom or on Facebook or YouTube, hopefully we can have a positive effect on on your perspective. Okay. Hopefully we can shape you and give you some hope. All right. All right. But he's here saying that we have to be careful about what we feed our mind with, and our hearts and our spirits. Okay. We need to choose healthy sources of information. And sometimes just saying, wait a minute, I'm not going to tune in to that anymore because I know it's not healthy. I know I've talked to some people, said, I've just had to turn off the news because it affects me mentally and emotionally, and it causes me to, it affects me in a way that I don't like. So I have to either limit or eliminate some of those sources. I hear all the time people saying, I'm taking a fast from Facebook. Well, and you know, and what it is, they're trying to do some self-care, but I would say this: not doing something is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not just what you don't do; it's what you do that really shapes you. Does that make sense? We have to do some healthy things, healthy information, healthy connections. We have to filter our input, and we need to make sure we use, sometimes we have to clean the filter and have some good stuff going in too. We'll stop right there. Yeah, I think. The next one is create the if-then scenario. And this is really a beneficial technique to help give you some hope. And in fact, I ministered at a funeral this week, and I used this actually before and I've used it a lot, the if-then principle, because it's a known principle. But I used it this week when I was talking at the funeral, and somebody said something, and I wasn't for sure exactly what they said. And you know, when somebody says something you don't know what they said, you can either think they said something in the negative, or you can think that they said something in the positive, right? Yes. And so I said, well, I'm not sure what you said there, but I'm going to take that in a positive way. Okay? Because I really do try to think positive first, think creatively first, think in a healthy way first, instead of my first thought is, you're attacking me, you're hurting me, you're trying to accuse me, or you're making fun of me, because I've been there, I've done that, I lived there for a long time. Okay. I remember a time when I was teaching a group here at the church. I was leading a group here at the church, and there was a large group, and two guys out there sat there and was laughing and talking, and it was in my mind, in my brain, I was thinking, they're making fun of me, okay? They're ridiculing me, they're laughing and talking, and while I was talking, I had to tell myself, don't think that way. Stop it, okay? They're just doing their own thing, okay? Doesn't have anything to do with me. It doesn't have anything to do with me. I didn't know what you called it then, but I had to decide what I was going to focus on. Does that make sense? And so, and how you can use that is you recognize trigger. If somebody says something bad, you can say, well, thank you for your opinion. Not saying not saying I agree or I disagree, but thank you for your opinion, because they're entitled to their opinion. Okay. And or if in our recovery system and dealing with substance abuse and behavioral issues, if we start to get agitated or worked up, or we are starting to have those feelings inside that we are we're starting to wanting to do something, get something, have something, or whatever, we're getting those urges, then we need to have an if-then scenario in our mind, that if here's one, if I want to look at, if for some reason I have an urge that I want to look at porn, okay, then I have a plan that, well, maybe instead of looking at porn, I go jog, or I go for a walk, or I do something to help me to shift my mental and emotional way. That urge will dissipate, according to science, that will dissipate in 20 minutes or so, even if it's really strong, 20 or 30 minutes. And if you have a plan to help yourself, you will eliminate a lot of those slip-ups, issues, okay, or whatever. And so I think I will pause there, and Alicia had something she wanted to say, and pass it over to her and let you share. There you go, Alicia.
It was profound that you were saying, talking about those two guys being at your meeting. And I met with my teacher, my Bible teacher today, and we had lunch. And we were talking about people heckling us. And, there's always a couple of them, people that are going to do that to us. And I like the fact that, looking at things from a different perspective, that those types of people push you on to greater things. And she was talking about this book she was going to give me. I think it was by Graham Cook, that when he would do his meetings or whatever, there were always these two guys out in the crowd that were making fun of him for real. And he said that the Lord had revealed to him later on that those guys were there to keep moving him forward in what he was doing. So, I mean, I just thought that that was kind of cool that, when we step out in our faith and we believe God, there's always people that are going to come at us. There's always going to be people that are the naysayers that say we cannot do this. And that made me think of a song too, by Mercy Me, Say I Won't. And I love that and what that song means. And I dare you to tell me that I can't do something, because I can, because I said I can't for so long. And I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And like John was saying, that, if you say to this mountain and you believe in your heart, it says in the 3 Gospels, go throw yourself into the sea, it will be done for him. But it says not to doubt. And you were talking about worrying, and I thought about doubt. And then, of course, like with everything, it's a fear. And like the fear, worry, and doubt, those 3 things will take you out. So whenever you do come up against a struggle, you believe in God and you have faith, that fear kicks in. It tries to grip your heart, like it's done me so many times. And it doesn't really grip my heart anymore, because I've learned to overcome fear. But like, to worry. So I started meditating on scripture about worry. And the first, one is like, in Matthew 6, I believe, do not worry. It says that in the beginning and goes on, you know, about the lilies of the field and all that jazz. And then, you know, I was like doubting one day, and God gave me the words blessed assurance. And we have a blessed assurance in God that we're not just, that we just don't have salvation, but it goes a step farther into like, you know, it's more than that, you know, and more than the blessings of God, you know. I don't want to lose what I'm trying to say, but there's so many things that just comes to mind. And like I was worrying so much about everything, and I go to Philippians 4, and I believe it's 4 through 8, and in the verse 8 in the Message Bible was like, it's great when Jesus displaces worry at the center of your life. He replaces the worry. And I was like, what does that look like, God? And started singing that song, Christ be center of our life, be the place we fix our eyes. And the worries started to literally dissipate about anything that I'm going through. So I feel like I've conquered a huge mountain, and just a little bit of faith, like that mustard seed he was talking about, is able to do that with anything that we face.
Well, Alicia is frozen up on us here. So thanks, Alicia. You froze up on us, but yes, and so I'm gonna go. I've got 3 more. I'm gonna try to get to them. I'm gonna say really quickly. How about that? And so number 6 is cheer. Now we're talking about things that you can do for yourself that will build hope. Okay. And so cheer for yourself. Okay. Literally, you need to encourage yourself. As Zach has said many times, we need to treat ourselves like we would treat someone that we're giving care to or being paid to give care for, that we treat ourselves like our own best friend instead of like an enemy, because oftentimes we do treat ourselves as an enemy. So we need to cheer ourselves when we have a success. We need to cheer ourselves, and that begins to give us confidence, and that's a positive. And when we're doing that, we're actually experiencing a positive experience, and that helps us. B.J. Fogg from Stanford, he's a researcher who has studied behaviors design about performing habits. And he had an interesting statement here. He says, from forming a habit, oftentimes most of us think that doing it repetitively actually creates the habit. And I think there's some degree to that, but he also he said that instead they are formed through deep emotions. And I know in the last several weeks, I was studying some information about trauma, and we can be traumatized in a moment and have reactions or behaviors based on that trauma. That's what PTSD is, and other things and that it's and even Anthony Robbins talks about when you're trying to create new habits, you need to have a strong emotion to create that habit, which is basically the same thing as Fogg is talking about here. And so we need to recognize that we need to get emotionally involved. And if you want to create some healthy habits, get emotionally involved with it, because the emotion goes to a deeper level in us to help us to establish those things. According to the research here, he said it's deep emotions that establish the habits or makes the habits. He went on to say that that's why some habits and addictions can start with just one event. His statement. Okay, so we need to celebrate when we do something good. Now that's being emotionally involved, celebrating, but not just saying, giving ourselves a nod, but we really need to get physical and emotively with actions, celebrate the good things that we have done. Okay. Now some people said, well, that's going to be that's going to be pride. Well, pride is based on something that isn't true, and a lot of that is having to put somebody down, and so we got to be careful that we don't let that clog us up mentally and emotionally. We need to recognize that we are, as the scripture says, speaking to ourselves. The scripture says, with psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, building yourself up in the most holy faith. So we need to encourage ourselves. That's what he's talking about here, okay? And so we need to, you may need to be a little more stealthy when you're in a crowd, or maybe it just, but the fact of it is, you need to get emotionally involved in celebrating or recognizing your successes, things you've done right, things you've done good, because what that does, that builds wins in your life, that enhances self-confidence to help you, and all of that is building hope. Remember, that's what we're talking about here. You can interject hope, and not only can you do that for yourself, but you can do that for others too. I remember Wanda many years ago in our meeting here, she would go up to people and tell them positive things that they have meant to her. She would do that. She would, and people would look at her and they wanted to not believe her, okay? But after she has done it multiple times, it affected people's life. I remember a man that actually is a minister here in town, and was part of our meeting here, and I would say things similar to him, maybe not always in a crowd, but it may be privately or personally. And he told me a number of years later how much that meant to him at that time. Okay, so that gives people hope. Okay, all right, next one, number 7, frame failure as feedback. Okay, frame failure as feedback. And so what we have to do is when we Carol Dweck talked about the difference between mindset and a growth mindset. Okay, no, fixed mindset and growth mindset. And a fixed mindset is that you have a fixed belief and you're not changing it. Okay, you're locked in. And a growth mindset is I'm willing to grow and change and develop. I basically said that about myself earlier. If you remember, I know what I know right now. At least I think I know what I know right now. But and I believe that is correct, or I wouldn't be saying it. But at the same time, I know that I could be wrong, and I'm open to learn. I want to do that. And so I hope and I believe that's what you call a growth mindset. So you must have hope for the future, that I believe I'll know and understand more in the future. Okay. The trouble is, the more I learn, the more I know that I don't know. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes, sir, Tommy.
My hope for the future is that I do a little bit better tomorrow.
Say, hey, Tommy, you're going to have to say that again a little louder, please.
My hope for the future is that I do a little bit better tomorrow.
All right. That's good. Thank you, Tommy.
Welcome.
And so what we have to do is we will experience setbacks. And John Maxwell talks about you have to have change in your pockets. And what he means is like financial change or value, that deposits that you put in like a bank, but a emotional bank apart. You not only have emotional bank with other people that you have a relationship with, hopefully you have positive, healthy deposits with them, emotional deposits, but you have to have that also with yourself. Okay, you need to have positive, healthy deposits towards yourself. You need to have change in your own pocket for yourself, because when you make a mistake, he said that's what the change is used for. Is basically another word. The change is like credibility or allowance because then you're still able to be able to stay in the system if you have enough credibility or change or value with different individuals and with yourself. He also says when you run out of change in your pocket, and he was talking to pastors here. He says that when you run out of change with people, that means credibility or value. They recognize you as some value, then you might as well go ahead and find another job, go someplace else. So anyway, and I don't want you to do that. And that's that pit of despair that we were talking about a while ago, and that we need to give ourselves hope. We need to encourage ourselves. And encouragement is hope, a hope in a better future. Have I said that before? I think I have. So let's go with number 8. This is the last one. You can celebrate. Yay! So that was the drum I was beating. And that is instilling hope in others. Okay. And we've kind of already touched this in several different ways. And that is that I remember Daryl a lot of times. He would talk, and this was many years ago. He'd say, when I'm feeling bad, I go visit people that need some help, and that makes me feel better. And it does make you feel better, because when you do kindness to others, you feel better. You give yourself something when you're given. That's scripture. That's scriptural. Give and it shall be given. Okay, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing will it come back to you to you. And so, and when you cast it out, he said in many days, Alicia said in many days it'll come back to you. When you cast your bread upon the water, in many days it'll come back to you. So it comes back. So as we plant in other people kindness, we try to help them, we love them, we do that, send out that love, because see, love is a force, it is a power, and it affects them if we send it with knowing that it does, and it affects them. We believe that it'll affect them in a positive way, and we do that for ourselves. So hey, I've told many people that are having problems in their relationships, I said, you just need to spend time every day sending love to that person. Just love them, not expecting that they're going to change because you're doing that. But see, the fact of it is, it does 2 things here, right? Number 1, it changes you. It affects you. It enhances you. It makes you feel better, because it adjusts you, because you can't be mad and love at the same time. Isn't that the truth, right? And it also affects them. I don't know how, but the fact of it is, according to quantum physics, the entanglement theory is that we are connected. And when we are affected, it affects others around us, those that we're entangled with, which is just about everybody, to greater or lesser degrees. And I have now gone way further than I anticipated. So, thank you all for listening. And do we have, thank you, Tommy. Do we have any comments from the gallery? How about that? Anybody? Anything anybody wants to say? Paul, you've been really quiet tonight.
There we go. I finally got it. I'm just kind of tired.
Well, we lost you all of a sudden.
I'm back.
Okay, all right. There you are. Well, hey, I don't want to force you into it, but I thought I'd just like to, if nothing else, let everybody see your face. The guy with the big and new heart, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All
I've
right.
been pushing myself off a heart this week, so I'm about to the end of my energy level.
Okay, well, we're glad you're here. We don't want to suck anymore. We want to give you energy. Everybody give Paul some energy.
Positive energy.
Yeah, positive energy, life, loving, hopeful energy. All right. In Jesus' name. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share as we close? All right, Tommy, I'm going to you, sir.
He was saying about the 3 things that you're like accomplishments or wins or whatever. I was thinking about getting one of those boards at the Dollar Tree and hanging it on the wall over here. And every day before I go about my day, write 3 things on there, and then I could, use that as a tool.
Yes, that's great. I think that'd be great. And a lot of people use journals, grateful journals, and that way. And your idea is great. Nothing wrong with that. But one thing about a journal or a way that you can keep it is because you can look back later and see all the things that you have been grateful for and revisit it. And so you can do that with one of those boards because you can keep adding stuff to it. Okay. Good. Anything else?
No.
All right. Anyone else? Well, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you and allow your hope to grow and increase your hope, your faith. I'm believing for you to be whole and healed and stable mentally, emotionally, physically, socially, financially, in every area of your life. And it's possible. Make healthy choices. I want to pass this over back to Mr. Zach, unless Lisa has something she wants to say, because she had, but you got it now, Zach. If Lisa has something you want to say, you can bring her in.
She's shaking her head.
Okay.
All
Thanks,
right. Well,
Lisa.
thank you for joining us tonight at SNL, and we hope you come back next week. And so